Hi again then guys, and welcome to another extreme circuit setup on Gran Turismo 6, what I like to call X-Tunes. And basically what we do in this tuning series is we take a car, typically a premium, sometimes a non-premium, and we basically tune it to its absolute peak potential. Generally speaking, for cars that can go over 600 pp. We give it the highest possible PP level with the use of tuning, the flat floor, all that kind of stuff. We upgrade the power as far as it can go, the torque of course as well, lower the weight as much as we can, to see basically what the car's ultimate potential is. Now, as far as what I've done to this specific car, which incidentally is not an obvious choice of X-Tune, the Mustang, in particular the premium 2007 version, the reason why I chose that one is because even though it's less powerful than the non-premium, you do have that flat floor. And that makes a massive difference. You definitely want to fit that to get that really high PP level. It helps out with grip, downforce, etc. Now, as you can see, I've gone for racing hard tyres. You could go for mediums or even softs if you want to go even quicker, of course. As far as the suspension, I've dropped the ride height to 70mm front and rear to keep that centre of gravity nice and low and to reduce body roll through corners. Springs have increased to 1075 and 575. Dampers to 5 all round. Anti-roll I've actually reduced a little bit to 2 because this is naturally quite a stiff car through the corners. To be honest, you could even take it down to 1 if you feel so inclined. I've gone for neutral camber and tow, which I personally like to have on pretty much all of my cars. But in the cases of cars which do have heavy steering, tow and camber can be useful. So if you want to give it some, of course you could, by all means. It's down to personal preference, personal driving style, etc. Now, as far as the diff, again, this setup won't work for everyone. Different people will have different personal preferences. I've gone for the lowest initial torque and the highest acceleration and braking. This car is very heavy through the corners. You basically have to drive it in a very similar way to an old school Grand Prix car, and that is that only give it full throttle when you're basically pointing straight. Don't really bother giving it acceleration when you're mid-corner, because you'll just pull out too heavy. Of course you can adjust that with the diff. Personally, I like my cars to be a little bit like that, which is the reason why I said it won't necessarily work for everyone. You might need to mess around or use a previous setup that you know will work better as far as the diff goes specifically. As far as power, we've upgraded it as far as it can go, including an oil change, and of course you can vary that as to what you need, 600 pp, 620, whatever. As far as the weight, we've dropped that as far as you can, pretty obviously. I've gone for the bare carbon bonnet, mostly for the visuals. You could go for the painted one if you want, it makes no difference. And as far as the gearbox, although it's not a top speed tune, specifically speaking, because of the flat floor, you do of course want some top-end performance as well, and it definitely has it. You can go over 200. We've got an auto setting of 230, then individual gears of 3.2, 2.1, 1.5, 1150, 925, 775, and then a final drive of 3.2. And of course you can adjust those gears, and especially the final drive, higher or lower if you need it to get through the gears quicker, or perhaps if you need a little bit more top-end potential or slipstream potential. But that's it for my tune, which of course is very open to interpretation, as all of my tunes are designed to be. So all that remains is to actually take this monster out, of course, on a track to see what it can do. Now, as I mentioned, this car is naturally quite heavy through the corners, but one of the benefits, I would personally say, about a car like this, which likes to be treated badly in terms of how hard you brake and accelerate and turn, and how hard you throw it into a corner, that kind of thing, is that that generally is a quite beneficial approach for a less experienced driver, say a beginner even, because for a car with 780 horsepower, it's nowhere near as tail happy or as slippery as it very easily could be, or as easily as a sports car, for instance, would be. So the fact that it is heavier and can be punished more, if you will, actually lends itself towards drivers with less finesse. So if you want to just slam your foot down coming out of corners, slam on the brakes, force the car's steering into the turn, if that's your kind of preferred driving style, which tends to be, not to put anyone's driving style down, that tends to be a newer driver's approach, then this car will suit you quite well. You can throw it into a corner, muscle the car around corners appropriately, and it will respond well to that. You don't really need to finesse the car at all. So, if you do decide to use this tune, or of course some variation of it, I hope you have a lot of fun with it, and of course, there are more X-tunes like this in the playlist at the end of this video. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.